Do you see it?
No. Yeah, I do. Okay, we'll get started. Hello, everybody. This is our Friday, what is today? The 8th of January, 2021. So this is our first episode of the new year. And somebody said something funny. Why can't we start the new year on February 1st? Because this month has been like, it belongs in 2020. It doesn't.
It does. So far, it certainly does.
Coming out that way. So welcome. And we have lots of news for everybody. And we're going to get started. My name is...
Go ahead.
Consuelo Lara.
And I'm Madeline Cronenberg. And I welcome you to Between Two Teachers. This time we're doing a screen share. So you can see actually what's on the Trello page. The links are on the Trello page, but the background of the Trello page is right here on our background. And so you can see the big news this week was that there was an insurrection at the Capitol. And we're going to talk a little bit more about how that affects education later. But I do want to start, what am I doing? Once again, as always, with our tribute to the Chochenyo, Karkin, Ohlone native peoples, whose land we are occupying and whose honor we really want to recognize. We want to recognize and honor them at all times. And I'm hoping that more and more organizations are going to take the time to give recognition to the Native peoples whom we all follow. So after that, we'll start just with what's happened right now in 2021, because the biggest thing is the coronavirus has not gone away. It's gotten worse. And it's gotten worse everywhere. So the picture you see here is a young lady and her teacher in England, because this is the international part of the story. Internationally, they had kept the schools open as much as possible, but they now have in Europe and in England a much more contagious brand of the virus. And so they decided to close their schools as well. And the Netherlands has done it, other countries as well, who had all kept them open. And so it's just a global problem completely, once again, including for school children. Nationally, of course, we have our new education program coming in from Mr. Biden, our new President Biden. And you can see the link to that. He's got a whole different approach in that he is really influenced by educators more than he's influenced by the privatizing movement, which is what the folks who completely influenced our previous Secretary of Education, and for that matter, Trump. So he was also very much a privatizer. So the plan is right here. You can read it. As is the life story of Mr. Cardona. Miguel Cardona is our soon-to-be Secretary of Education. And he's a gentleman from Connecticut who is a teacher. And he was the youngest, he won an award as best principal, but he was also the youngest person ever to be a principal of a middle school in Connecticut.
Wow.
Right. So he's been in, and he was in the middle school that he grew up in. He's a person who stayed in his hometown and went and wound up teaching and being a principal and then a district administrator in the town that he grew up in. So now he's moved to DC and he's going to be all of our leader. So that's Mr. Cardona. And he is following in the footsteps of someone we know, Miss Devos, who left early from her job, as it turns out. She resigned today, and she resigned, or yesterday. She resigned, gave her resignation yesterday after the unbelievable events of Wednesday, And she did call out the president and say it was his rhetoric that caused really the deaths. There are 5 people who died, not to mention everything else that happened, the damage and the damage to our national identity. So Mr. Voss, who was one of the few people who had been with him from the very beginning, well, these other people had changed revolving doors, but she had been there the whole time. She did resign, but earlier this week, she wrote a letter to Congress and to the public saying that she hopes that all of her efforts were not in vain and that they wouldn't overturn what she'd done in the last 4 years, which we hope they will.
Yeah. Yeah.
But she did write a letter asking them to keep them. And basically what she wants, she's a fan of. There's some things that she supports teachers, and fine to the extent that she does. The problem is that she really supports privatizing education. Yeah. And that's the fact that has been a goal of hers. That's a value of hers. And she's going out the door, not having her mind changed, but hopefully, thankfully she is going out the door. And so she's gone.
She's gone. But gosh, it took death and destruction for these people to finally call out this monster.
Yes.
I mean, we finally found their line. Oh, when he starts killing people, that's when we'll say he's a bad person.
And he's killed 350,000. How many COVID victims
people
are there?
We've well known since day one, but finally we found their line. Oh gosh, it's crazy.
It is. It is a very crazy thing.
Bizarre.
So we get to school reopenings. So in California, the teachers union is asking teachers, so this is not to the public, but this has been sent out to members of the union, we pledge to protect our school communities. We will not put our kids at risk. And this is where the teachers unions are looking at the fact that they have to go back safely. And it's a moving target in some ways, because the circumstances around COVID have changed, because we now have vaccines. Yeah. We have testing and we have vaccines that we didn't have in March.
Right.
So you have to do protocols around how you're going to get those vaccines, get your people vaccinated and get the vaccines into the arms of your teachers. Yeah. And that's a big project. Yeah. But that's what they're going to have to do. So that's in the California has a California Safe School Plan for All, which mentions it, but is not as detailed as a lot of people want. Here it is. It was put out again in the December 30th California's COVID response PowerPoint that was done at one of their meetings. So I have that and the statement from this California Teachers Association President E. Toby Boyd, who basically is saying we have to be careful. Educators want safety. That's what they want.
I really like this idea of a pledge. It really unifies our values as teachers, right. But it also sends a message to parents that we don't want your child or us, anybody, to be its staff in danger. And that's really what teachers are thinking of.
Yes.
It's not anything but that. So
that's it, because we are working in old buildings. They're not getting reventilated. They're not, what they don't have is what the private schools were able to do things over the summer. They were able to make sure that classrooms were down to 15. They were able to bring in extra space. They were able to put in ventilation systems. They spent a huge amount of money and effort to be able to meet the requirements to reopen. Yeah. And even some of them are not able to recognize that it's not enough.
Yeah, for sure. It's very complicated.
It is a very complicated thing. In California, LA was ready to reopen until 1 in 3 children, 1 in 3 students are testing positive in some of their neighborhoods. Unbelievable rates. And these are asymptomatic children who have no symptoms, but they wound up taking tests because there was some testing being done Anyway, they wound up being tested even though they were asymptomatic, and that's the testing rate that they had.
Oh my gosh.
It's unbelievable. And now we come to our local messages. So you talk to us about some
news. I have for a while now been very concerned about these hubs. And, you know, it kind of is a response to what you said just now about some areas can afford to have these big spaces, ventilators, all this equipment and bring their kids in. And those people have more resources where others do not have all of that. And so they're at home, distance learning, etc. And my feeling was that that's why we need these hubs, right, in order to, you know, balance this out. Okay, we got hubs. And here's what the hubs are, because a lot of people are saying, what is it? What are they? And the best way I can describe it is, you know, schools have after school programs. And you got activity and food and, you know, tutoring, homework help. You got all that. It's like that, only it's all day. And
it's
so
childcare. It's childcare, right? That's what they are.
Yes. So we got here in West Contra Costa, we got 3 operating now. One at the Hilltop YMCA. I went to go see that one, and it was great. And it's just like you imagine. It's a wide open space. They're using the old racquetball courts. People aren't playing racquetball these days, so they had all that space, and they could put a few. I mean, everybody can be spread out. They can use the little apparatus to play on, but they wipe it down, they clean it. So you need to have all that. And I saw kids on their laptops, and there was somebody behind them helping them, because the parents, either they're working or they can't, you know, they can't.
But not teachers. There are no teachers here.
So so they're helping, and then there's play, and the food is all being supplied by the district. So the funding for Hilltop, there's Bright Futures out in El Sobrante, and then RPAL, Richmond PAL. Yeah, there's one there. And the funding is coming from the CARES Act, the County Office of Education, the district is doing their part, and whatever the community site is. So these are some real partnerships. These are some real partnerships. And they want to create 2 more. One is ready to go at GRIP, which is the Greater Richmond Interfaith Program. Very, very, you know, great program. And so they want to put one there. And then an Ed Fund Lacey Community Resources Foundation. So this
and that's down in Point Richmond.
Richmond. This one would be, and in Point Richmond, because there might not be, that they're going to provide transportation. So, so you see the partnerships. I mean, I'm just amazed at what I'm seeing, all the partnerships. That's great. Here is the best part. The best part is, okay, where are they getting the kids? So, you know how we've read that the reporting of, you know, the mandated reporting has gone down.
Right.
Those kids. So now they're in homes, could be
because their teachers are not there. They're not around the people who would do the mandating reporting, which is they would
teachers, staff,
train people who are able to report abuse, children who've been in abusive situations.
So those poor kids, and so they're getting the referrals for kids from places like the Family Justice Center, STAND, which is the Violence Against Women agency, COPE. And then FIT.
So these are families that are in crisis. That's really what we're talking about.
FIT is families in transition. So it could be all, you know, all of these are our most vulnerable kids. And I remember there was that commitment. We're going to start with the ones who are most needy. People didn't get that, you know. So, and I was talking to the county superintendent, and she was talking about, well, it's great, you guys are going to do 2 more, but I heard it wasn't approved. The contract wasn't approved. And I looked into that, and it was supposed to go through last December, but for some reason, all kinds of things were pulled from the consent. All kinds of things were tabled. Well, this just happened to be one of them, unfortunately, but these are things that our kids need. So my, you know, call to action is email these board members and say, find that item and put it back on there and pass it, because we need these 2 centers plus more. We need even more for those our most vulnerable children. So that's my call to action. But that's
a really important thing, and that can be done. This was for whatever, we don't even want to get into whatever reason it didn't go through. The fact of the matter is they have board meetings coming up in short order. They have a retreat tomorrow morning, for that matter, that anybody could go to and mention this. But you could also email all of them. You can email the superintendent. You can do all of those things and just say, look, you need to put the contract for the hubs back on so that these children have some alternatives that they don't have now.
You know,
and the money is there. This is CARES Act money.
Yes, and these individuals who are being served, you know, we have to advocate for them because they're surviving, and they have to be their voices. We have to insist on this. So they can't, for so many reasons, but we got to be there. We got to be those advocates for them. So please say something, do something. Thank you.
Say something. That's a big call to action that nobody else is going to mention. So we'll put it on Facebook. I'll make a graphic for people to know what they need to do and send it out to your networks.
Yeah.
Just to say, right? This is.
And maybe there'll be some community organizations that say, hey, I want a hub in our, you know, site, or who knows what. We need more people to volunteer to help with these hubs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Because that's one thing, what we know is right now, there isn't going to be an immediate change. It's getting worse before it gets better.
Yes, yes.
And there's every reason to believe that. And not that we don't believe that there is a vaccine, because there is, and it's coming, but the hub could be here tomorrow.
Yes.
Vaccine is not going to be.
Yeah, this is so necessary. Okay, good.
All right, good. That's that. Just so you know, on this document, I've put in a slice because we are committed to the arts. And just in general, California is also committed to the arts. The arts are taking a tremendous hit because of COVID, and we can't let that happen. We have to stand up for arts programs. So the California Arts Council is our state agency. Create California is also part of that. The California Alliance for Arts Education is where you become, as West Contra Costa is an arts district that supports arts for all. Hopefully the county will be an arts county, and we just need to all be conscious of what the arts can do for us. I also put this in here because hopefully this year we'll be talking more and more about building pipelines of educators. And this is, in the arts, we needed to have a pipeline of educators. And so there's been a new credential that was created within the last 3 years. And it's a dance and theater credential. And prior to this, California was one of 2 states that didn't have it. 48 states had it, and California did not, for some complicated reasons, but which don't matter because now they do have it. But what we have to do is support our students who are interested in becoming arts educators to go ahead, and there are schools they can go into to get a theater or dance educator credential. Excellent. And this is what pumps us up. This is what pumps us up as an organization.
Yeah, that's great.
And this is Arts Education Alliance. This is who they belong to in the Bay Area, the Arts Education Alliance of the Bay Area. Yes. For parents, I just want to point out that everybody should be a member of the California State PTA. And I know that there are other organizations that are not connected to the PTA, but the thing about the PTA, if your school has it, or for community members, pick a school in a community that has, that's a low income community that needs more support, and join their PTA and help them develop their parent voice.
Yeah. You can just pick a school, any school.
You pick any school anywhere. And it's easy to do, and you can just go to the California PTA website to do it. And you can just see these are the materials that the PTA has put together as resources for parents, families, and educators. How to read reports on how distance learning is doing, how to help with your children, help your child with learning at home and the social emotional well-being and habits that you want to be able to develop now that you've become a teacher at home that you never expected to be. So that's our parent voice. Funding, this was interesting. EdSource put the list of how much money every school district in the state got from the CARES Act.
Okay.
So if you're interested in seeing how much money there is, and this is additional money that's supposed to be spent on things like the hubs, right? And on ventilation and on PPP and all those kinds of things. But you need to know that money is there, and you want to ask your district how they're spending it.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's a fair question.
Exactly. So
you can find that link. And these are just best practices. Now this gets us to where we were talking about. This picture came from what happened on Wednesday, the insurrection at the Capitol. And that very day, the next morning, teachers across the world had to go back into their Zoom classrooms, and different organizations came together, different teachers, and created classroom resources to teach with the next day.
Yep.
Which was an amazing turnaround. It just shows you what, but it's also a technology thing. I mean, in the past, it wouldn't have happened or been as easy to share. But this particular one was done by NPR. And they took materials and put them together and created lesson plans and questions for you to ask and share with children at different ages. And I thought it was amazing that they were able to do it as quickly as they did. But teachers rose to the occasion. The other thing that happened this year that is the best practices they're talking about, or Mr. Newsom, Governor Newsom is talking about expanding our school year. And he's really talking about summer school to make up for learning loss.
Yeah, yeah. So maybe they'll look at different forms of a calendar also. I think I've shared.
It brings the calendar right up. It brings the calendar right up, right?
Yeah, I was at a school where there was multiple tracks. And so you could be in school, another track was home. So that seems perfect these days.
Right. And also the classrooms, the building gets maximum usage, doesn't it? It gets used all the time.
So yeah, so that is a real, strategy for the learning loss. Yeah,
I think it totally is. And I also think it's a strategy now to look at families that are going to be operating differently because some groups of people are home now and they're going to stay home. There are businesses that are not going back to work, or they're going to go back half time or 1 day a week.
Yeah.
Right. And so that means the whole ways that these families operate will be very different.
Yeah. Sure.
I love this. I just put this in here because I saw this and I think every park should have a sign language alphabet. Look at that. You can do that if you're 3 years old or 2 years old.
Oh, this is love.
Yes.
Love. How cute.
And peace. We know what peace is. This is the one for this week.
Yeah. Oh, yes, you're right. That should be every.
I mean, that's an easy thing to do. Right? Whoever did that is an easy thing to do. And when you talk about a universal language, there it is. At least those 5 words: play, friend, peace, love, and help.
Very good. Very good.
They could have used that in Washington this week. Teachingbooks.net. This is what California's answer to Open Docs. And this is just an online curriculum, and it's free. It's available to all of us, to all of the districts. And what this does is it puts textbooks, it makes textbooks available at a much lower cost or even no cost. And I'm not saying everybody's textbook has to go, but I'm just saying this is a strategy that that's a good fit for some schools and some classrooms. And it should be looked at. It should be looked at. And so it is there for, this is the California version of it. There are different, other states all have different versions of how they have online curriculums. And that's a growing thing.
Yeah, that's good. That's a good resource.
And for all of our friends who are interested in privatization, that's where we talk about charter schools. Yeah. And since we were here last, there was a charter school hearing in West Contra Costa. And this is the picture that came from the Richmond Pulse, where Summit Charter School was approved with a conditional approval with 15 conditions.
Yeah. I just think that was such a good thing to do. It reminds me of the election, because the election was such a way that the outcome showed this community did not want the charter school money to control the school board. And so they've got, very critical of charter schools.
Yes.
And so I was wondering how they were going to handle that. And I thought they handled it very well,
Well, and the other thing that came out of it was a charter school committee.
Yes, absolutely.
Just like you have at the county.
Yes.
Now the school district has one, which allows lots of best practices to be developed around how authorizers, how you're going to operate as an authorizer and oversee and learn from and support all of your children, including the children in the charter schools.
Yeah, and including developing data, transparency data, all in one place, so you could look up a school and you can get all the financial data you want on that school.
Exactly. Exactly.
We need to have that. Yeah.
So I'll get one data point that was struck me about Summit that didn't come up during the meeting. The CEO of Summit, and Summit has, 10 schools, and it also operates in the state of Washington. The CEO is a woman named Diane Taverner, and she was on the Zoom call that the board meeting where it was approved, and she was questioned by a number of board members, particularly Trustee Gonzalez-Hoy. He questioned her. And the interesting thing about Ms. Taverner is the highest paid public school educator in the state of California.
Wow.
Though to operate her 10 schools, she pays herself, because the way charter schools go is that the charter schools are in a position to be able to run their own budget and set their own salaries for their administrators and their teachers and all of their staff members. And the salary they were giving her is $450,000 a year.
Oh my gosh.
So I just found that's my piece of trivia, privatizer trivia.
Yeah, and this is public school money. You have to know it's public school money, and there's nobody in public schools who makes that.
She's at the top. No, well, it's documented. Forbes. I got that from Forbes.
Forbes. There you go.
All right. She makes more to run her 10 schools than all the other people who make large sums of money are usually superintendents in charge of 100 schools or 50 schools or large numbers of schools and large numbers of children. She is not in charge of large numbers of schools.
Is that these schools are about making money. They are not about education. They are not. I've been to them. They are doing nothing that we're doing everything. They come and steal it. They do it up there. They're supposed to be innovative. They are doing nothing innovative, but they have.
Well, this is innovative. They pay their leader $450,000.
That's your innovation, right?
Now I give them innovation points for this. And Miss Taverner herself, I'm sure she gave them a number and they said, fine. So there it is. Okay. Our update came today from Governor Newsom, who gave the state budget information out. And he's got $2 billion for prioritizing in-person instruction. He wants the youngest children in first, and then funding will be for low-income English learners and foster youth. The issue is how quickly our teachers can and staff members can be vaccinated, and how much money they can put into making that really happen. And the other thing is President-elect Biden, he wants teachers to, everybody wants them to open. This is not like there's a fight about that.
No.
We just need them to be safe.
Yeah, yeah. So this money can also go towards vaccinations. Got it. Okay.
Yeah, it doesn't have to just go towards testing. I mean, or any of these other things. The thing it really needs to go towards is vaccinations, because that's something that solves the problem, right? Testing just tells you where you are today. And even if you find out the test today, you don't find out till tomorrow. I mean, it doesn't solve the problem.
Right.
And the other update is, we had mentioned here that San Francisco was going to reopen in January. Well, of course it can't because of the unbelievable rate of COVID. Here's our action alerts. This is the one we've talked about. Time for Social Security fairness. We're going to keep this on. Maybe our new all Democratic legislature will actually do this.
Yeah.
We have a chance.
Yeah. This directly affects the teacher shortage. There are people for whom this teaching is a second career. They worked in the private sector. They have Social Security. Then they come to be teachers. And then they find out that when they retire, they can't get that Social Security.
Exactly.
It's about. They deserve that. They work for that, plus whatever their retirement was as a teacher. Come on. This is just fairness.
That's why it's called Help Fight for Seniors During This Crisis. And this is why it is pushed by the California Retired Teachers Association, because it is they who are taking the hit.
Yes, please.
So that's that. And then finally, this is a Black Lives Matter organization that put this out, and I'll just open this up so we can all read it. So they want us all to do 4 things. Each member of Congress, the right to your member of Congress, must not only condemn the acts of Donald J. Trump, they must call for immediate impeachment. And that's certainly happening today as I speak. Yeah. The Senate must convict and remove him from office. That's number 1.
Yes.
Number 2 is expel each member of Congress who has fanned the flames of white supremacist violence. And it has to be called out for what it is.
Yep.
And has participated in the effort to stop the certification of the Electoral College. And we saw how many there were the other night.
We know who they are. Yeah.
Well, we know, that's not a secret. The third one, which I think is really important and that we can all advocate for, and that is for elected officials, both at the federal level and the state level, to publicly renounce this white supremacist attempted coup, as well as the accompanying attempts to retroactively disenfranchise the votes of millions by overturning the democratic results of this election. So that means if you are on a city council, if you are on a school board, if you are on a water board, if you are on a state legislature, whoever you may be, if you are in the federal level, if you're in the Senate, you need to, if you do not publicly renounce white supremacists, then by staying silent, you are complicit.
Yeah, yeah.
This is not the time to be silent.
Yeah.
Right? This is a time where resolutions do matter.
Absolutely, as soon as possible.
Yeah. Every board that they meet should just pull up an emergency resolution and sign it. And anybody who doesn't want to sign it, then all right, it's very clear who you are.
Yeah, yeah, good point.
And the last one that they ask for is to abolish the Electoral College.
Yes, please. Have to.
Right.
Don't need it.
No, we don't need it. So those are big calls to action. And if you click on the link, I mean, you can certainly find this link, but you can also, it's easy enough to do each of those things. Just contact the people you need to contact.
Yeah, sure.
And finally, every week we do a shout out, and there is a hero, the big hero this week. Before we got to Wednesday, there was Tuesday. And that is where Stacey Abrams delivered Georgia for the Democratic Party in the United States Senate. So that was an amazing night. So she is a big hero. And I think it's time for people to start looking at schools to name after Miss Abrams.
There you go. There you go. That's one we want for sure. That's a good one. We're going to have new schools pretty soon.
And now we come to our chuckle from Carlos.
All right. Well, that was a lot, but a lot of stuff's going on. So,
well, it's been a long time since the last time we were on. Yeah. So a lot has happened.
Yeah, a lot has happened. So we're coming towards the end here, and
yeah, we are.
We want to give you a little chuckle here. These come from my son Juan Carlos. What do you say to a cow on December 31st?
I don't know, Consuelo. What do you say to a cow on December 31st?
Happy Moo Year.
Carlos never disappoints. Carlos never disappoints. So we offer a Happy Moo Year to everyone now that we're back. And as we follow developments in education, we appreciate your watching, and please do take the actions that we just went through. It's an important time. Let me think. Here's our Carlos picture. No, I can't. Okay. Thank you all.
Okay.
Bye-bye.